Today we are talking about foods that you most likely have all eaten at some point in your life, but catch them at the wrong time or eat too much of them, and you could be putting yourself in serious danger. These foods have the potential to kill you. And the first one, green potatoes. Now, when potatoes sit for too long, they're exposed to light, they start to turn kind of greenish color. And the greenness of these old potatoes is from something called chlorophyll, which is actually harmless to humans. But the presence of chlorophyll in potatoes can also signal the presence of a toxin called solanine. And solanine it's a natural pesticide that's produced by vegetables to deter bacteria and insects and fungi from growing on and around the potato. The solanine is mainly found in the skin of a potato, as well as those little sprouts that come up when you kind of let potatoes sit for too long. Now, you can peel them and remove most of the green parts, and that means that most of the toxins are going to be removed as well. Potatoes like these can taste bitter, and if they do, it's best not to eat them still. If a person was to consume too much solanine from green potatoes, they may experience nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, sweating, headaches, and stomach pains. Extreme solanine actually is poisoning, and it has been reported to cause paralysis, body convulsions, breathing problems, coma, and even death. It's obviously unethical to study this further on humans, so scientists can't say exactly how much is too much. And of course, it will also depend on the person's body size and their weight, but in general, it's best to stay away from potatoes that have turned green. Just run to the store, buy some fresh ones, and, better to be safe than sorry. So the next food you probably have in your spice cabinet right now. The spice is called nutmeg. It's a popular spice. People use it in baking all the time, especially during the fall season. And in small doses, it's safe and harmless for us. But you can actually overdose on nutmeg. So consuming more than about 10 grams, which equates to about 2 teaspoons worth, can cause serious health issues. Unlike potatoes that cause nausea and vomiting and stomach issues, nutmeg overdoses have more of a hallucinogenic, psychotic reaction. Some cases have been reported, like people having seizures and hallucinations, confusion, feelings of impending doom, extreme anxiety, and an elevated heart rate. Now, most of these reports of nutmeg overdoses end up in the emergency room where they're monitored and treated by doctors. Sometimes people require benzodiazepines, which are depressant medications that slow down brain messages, and this is pretty crazy, having a reaction from overdosing on a spice that most of us have in our kitchens. And there was actually a recent social media challenge called the Nutmeg Challenge, where people were overdosing on nutmeg for this natural high, which is terrifying. That's really scary, but that is where most of these recent reports of hallucinogenic symptoms came from. So many of these severe overdoses landed in the emergency room and required treatment for a few days. So be careful with nutmeg, don't go using too much. It is really yummy, but use it sparingly. Next up, another nutty food, but this one is almonds. So there are actually 2 types of almonds. There are sweet almonds and bitter almonds. They grow on 2 different trees. The sweet ones are the ones that we eat and consume regularly. The bitter ones are much less common. And the bitter almonds are the ones nicknamed lethal almonds. They contain something called glycoside amygdalin, and the body breaks down this glycoside amygdalin to produce hydrogen cyanide, which is poisonous for humans. Signs of cyanide poisoning are symptoms like headache, drowsiness, nausea, vomiting, and vertigo. And symptoms can worsen. In this case, they would require medical attention immediately. Now, if you were to accidentally purchase the wrong type of almonds and you don't know what to do with them, you can cook them by boiling, roasting, or even just microwaving them to reduce how much cyanide they will produce after you consume them. Or stay away, stick to the sweet almonds, and avoid the bitter ones entirely. All right, the last food that we will talk about is undercooked ground beef. So E. coli is naturally found in the intestines of many farm animals, including cows. And when a cow gets slaughtered and processed, there is a possibility that that E. coli bacteria can infect the rest of the meat. This is increasingly likely when poor quality meat is being produced. So the best thing you can do to prevent this from occurring is by buying high quality beef products. The second thing you can do is making sure to cook ground beef to 160 degrees, which is the safe temperature that kills E. coli bacteria completely. If you order burgers at restaurants, you should be cautious when ordering temperatures less than medium. Medium rare is usually cooking to a temperature of 145 degrees, which would not kill all E. coli bacteria. And given that you don't know where the meat came from with a restaurant, and you don't know what kind of quality it is, it can be risky. So it's best to stick with medium or medium well, and purchase meat that is of higher quality. Symptoms of E. coli poisoning include diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, and having a fever. Now, these symptoms don't always show up right away. It can take 3 to 4 days after the infection of E. coli to start showing symptoms, and it can last for a few weeks. So do be careful when you're ordering burgers or buying ground beef from the grocery store. High quality is best, cooking it to a minimum of 160 degrees, which will kill the E. coli bacteria. You can get a thermometer on Amazon for less than $10, and it can really help out with meat temperatures, and it can take the guesswork out of grilling and cooking that ground beef. So I highly suggest doing that. Now, just be careful, remember, we've got green potatoes, we've got nutmeg, bitter almonds, and uncooked ground beef, all things that we consume regularly, so just be careful when you're at the grocery store or when you're about to cook them at home. These can all be lethal if consumed in high amounts. So that's all I have for you today. Stay healthy, everyone. Subscribe if you want to hear more, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Until next time, see you soon, everyone.